Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and a Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Virgo taking place on February 24th at 7:30 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This particular lunar update is for the divine counterpart, divine connection, soulmate, twin flame, collective. And we're going to do something different this lunar update because both counterparts were speaking to the full moon. Everything that I would say to the counterparts, I said in the Lightworker energy update. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a different approach and some added detail here as a part two to that, which I would consider part one. A few quick announcements. Calendar sessions are available for the end of February and beginning of March, and they're moving very quickly. It's countdown time to eclipse season with our first major eclipse of the year on the 24th, and then again on April 8th, March 24th and April 8th. We also have a major conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus, Venus, Sun, and Moon on May 8th. And some of the most significant changes of 2024 are happening all before we get to the end of May. So I recommend if you would like some support when it comes to navigating these in regard to connection, because all of the lunations so far this year have been very heavily connection focused. If you're feeling stuck in connection, that's not the astrology. That's something going on internally that we can have a look at so that we can facilitate an opening for some possibilities this year, especially because as we get to the tail end of the year, we get a lot of ex-returnee kind of energy. It's very heavily focused on relationships from the past. So if you want to work some stuff out with either somebody you already know or stuff from your past has been haunting you and you're ready to get on a new path in love, now's really the right time to book a reading uh, before we get into that energy, not in that energy. That way we can have things put in the right place before the energy arrives for you. A link to book for a reading is just below this video. Now, this full moon in Virgo, I'm just going to show you very quickly all of the conversations it's having and then give you a quick overview. We've got the full moon in opposition to the sun, as usual. We've got full moon in opposition to the sun, but the sun is also in conversation here with Mercury and Saturn. So those are also opposite to this full moon. We've got a trine to Pholus here in Capricorn and Ceres together. They're in concert with this full moon. We also have a trine to Ceres in that series. Okay, yes, I got those two. And we have Juno retrograde and Lilith both conjunct this new moon. So here's Lilith and Juno. They're both speaking really closely to the, full moon. Jupiter. Jupiter is trine as well. And we've got Pallas here forming a nice little T-square. So Pallas in Sagittarius forming that T-square. So very interesting full moon energy. The general theme of this full moon is about foundations and shoring up where there are cracks in our foundations so that we're ready to take the next step. Each month, at the start of the month, I channel a word that I share with the private listers that is the focused word for the month and what the lunations will help us with that month. And this month, the word that was given to me was foundation at the start of February. And now that we're at this lunation, I fully understand why. This lunation is very heavily focused on our foundations. So the link to jump on the private list is below this video if you'd like to be a part of that group that I give that special message to. And, other stuff when you join. I do send out a code to save 20% on your first 1 hour reading with me. And there's room for that 1 hour reading coming up in the next 2 weeks if you book now. If you're new here, welcome. My strong recommendation is to listen to that LightWorker energy update first. You can get the full picture and context for why and how the planets that I'm reading as the counterparts are being interpreted in the way they are. Especially at this full moon, it's going to help you because uh, I'm going to go over some things that really sabotage foundation and connection and where to get support from. But to understand why we're even having that conversation, what the counterparts are doing is actually in the light worker energy update this time because they pertain to the collective. And so this year has a lot of love, passion, and new beginning energies and connection unfolding, like I said, towards the end, but also at the start of the year. And they are unfolding for the entire Lightworking collective, not just Twin Flames. We're just one part of that collective. But if you don't listen to that, we do miss how to take advantage of this energy and leverage that in your connection by not starting there. So, in summary, real quick, this full moon in Virgo is extremely preparatory for what is about to happen next. It's full of revelation, it's full of mirrors about where our foundations are out of alignment with our desired manifestation in love. Some of the revelations you receive could have been a long time coming. Some of them may be confronting, but if you can embrace their message of responsibility and accountability, gotta love that Virgo energy. And take appropriate action to bring your life into alignment at this time. When the bigger energies start hitting in the next 90 days, your life is going to be able to move forward very quickly instead of moving in a loop and repeating a pattern. Really critical because we've moved into a portal of rapid manifestation, which is coming through the divine masculine energy field. And I talked about that with Jupiter conjunct Uranus in the Lightworker energy update. So definitely have a listen for that. Both parts are speaking to this moon as part of a grand earth trine. Like I said, that includes both Pholus and Ceres here. This is probably going to be one of the most important lunations for divine counterparts in a prelude season to breakthrough. Anytime you've ever heard of like a breakout success or like a breakout kind of record that somebody put out, breakouts aren't actually breakouts. Even in your skin, if you struggle with acne, breakouts are typically things that start long before you actually see the breakout. There's something that happens below the surface. And this is where that below the surface thing is unfolding. This particular Virgo full moon, we can shift some stuff below the surface in connection that can foster connection, having a breakout and a breakthrough as we get into the later months of this year. I've been receiving some channeled messages about these next several years that head through 2027 and 2028 being years that host a lot of breakthroughs and a lot of unions for divine counterparts. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that, the work is a now thing, not a later thing. What's one thing that I've noticed as I've seen this energy arrive in people's individual charts, because even though there's like union windows for the collective, everyone in their own individual chart has seasons of union that come. And if you've taken timing of union with me or you've done Star School 201, you can refer back to that to know how to calculate that for yourself. But when I've seen this season arrive in people's charts, while they've worked for it, maybe prepared for it, prayed for it, they haven't always necessarily done the work that would lay the foundation for it. They've worked around it. They've prepared adjacent to it. They've kind of done the equivalent of, yeah, I prepared for that math test. I went to the school building. I was in the class next to math called science. Isn't that preparation? And I'm like, ooh, not exactly. So most of the time when the time comes and I see, there's some ways in which they're like wholly unprepared for their union energy, it's because instead of doing some of the third dimensional stuff that is really required, they've exclusively put all of their attention only on the spiritual stuff. It's very common for those who occupy a lot of the feminine energy to do that. But that's the equivalent of like putting cough medicine on athlete's foot. Got to do the right work for the right solutions. Extensive detail about the kind of prep that we're doing right now as a collective for love, like I said, is in that Lightworker energy update for twins. In this video, I'm going to get into the nitty gritty on the 3D stuff because we're talking about full moon in Virgo, earth sign Virgo, that I repeatedly see causing twins to miss their union windows when they show up. And their charts may get just like a little bit of a lift, a pinch of union, some like a few weeks of restored communication, and then things go right back into separation. There's nothing new opening. And this lunation, this full moon in Virgo, is going to call us out on our toxic trait or pattern in relationship because of its connection specifically to Folus's placement. Folus specifically deals with toxicity and the way Folus is speaking to divine masculine and to divine feminine at this particular lunation. Full moon illuminates stuff that's been in the shadows. This time it's going to illuminate toxic traits, toxic behavior patterns. When Folus is on the scene, we're always dealing with something that's poisonous, either from ourselves or from others. We're also dealing with being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Okay. Like I said earlier, for twins seeking deeper union, this is, putting cough syrup on athlete's foot, trying to use an inhaler to fix arthritis. Not everything is a spiritual block or a psychic attack. We do ourselves a serious disservice believing that we are subject to the spiritual world, period. The spiritual world is subject to us. And I'm about to talk about 10 areas that I see people loop in toxicity around and solutions. I'm going to share some links. I'm going to share some websites. I'm going to share some ways that you can get out of those loops and clean this stuff up in the world of form so that it will shore up your spiritual boundaries and not leave you vulnerable to psychic attack or entities so that they can't keep feeding on your pain and your suffering and looking for ways to facilitate more. You can be more in your power in the spiritual realm by coming more into your power in your third dimensional reality. Okay. So both counterparts, speaking to this full moon, I've already detailed the universal energy for twin flames, like I said. And what you're about to hear will be maybe a little bit confronting, but hopefully hopeful because it may shake some things loose. It may break the spell around and help you kind of see with some really clear eyes, a lot of clarity in this full moon. Oh, this is what I'm bringing to the loop, right? When two people are on the dance floor and they keep repeating the exact same cycle over and over and over again, lifetime after lifetime, the answer is for just one of them to do something different. If one of them breaks the cycle, it breaks it for both of them. Okay. And so with this, we're going to have a look at some of the toxic traits and patterns that we can deploy as coping mechanisms for challenges in connection that lead us to the same results of disconnection, separation, and it's linked suffering and heartbreak. It's going to be good, guys. It's going to be good. A lot of y'all have come to me privately and said, I really struggle with Virgo energy because it's so nitpicky, it's so perfectionistic. But the gift in Virgo energy is that it has the capacity to see details, nuance, and prioritize, and replicate or create patterns, but also interrupt patterns when they're problematic. And once we see what these patterns are, it's not that these things are toxic on their own. They're just coping mechanisms on their own. They become toxic when they're repetitive, and the repetitiveness and redundancy are undermining our ability to have the quality of relationship we want. So I'm going to get into these 10 things and some solutions, but this is going to be an active participation video. I want you to get a notebook and a journal. You can use the comment section if you prefer. Comment below which ones you've seen play out for you and your counterpart of the 10. You're in good company. I'm going to be really vulnerable and admit that for myself, all 10 of these, except for number 8, have been a challenge in my own connection at one time or another. My counterpart and I have had to work very diligently to move into positive cycles, both independently of one another and together. We're not perfect. I'm not saying we're there yet, but we are excited about one another's efforts. We cheer each other's progress on. And this is what builds greater togetherness, foundation, and connection for us. So, yeah, if you want to comment which ones have shown up for you, or you want to comment the number one thing that this lunation is saying, hey, like you may have all these other things, but if you just work on this, it's going to be the breakthrough for foundation in your connection. I am certain you'll be in good company. You'll find some likes on that as the comments continue to build. In terms of active participation on this video, here's the second assignment I have for you. Now, YouTube normally deletes links left on my channel for obvious reasons. Before YouTube started automatically deleting links, like people's comment sections were littered with spam, porn, scammers, that kind of thing. So in this video, I'm going to try to disable that setting. So if you have a practice where you help people with any of the 10 things I'm about to mention, please link your YouTube, link your website so people can find you. I love directing people to good tools and solutions. As you know, I'm going to be sharing resources that I'm aware of and can vouch for, but I don't know everything. And I love supporting other small business owners in the collective who are helping light workers and twins who need support. So, yeah, let's get into it. How very Virgo of me, a top 10 list for this lunation. Let's get into it, starting with number 10. Yeah. So let me scroll down and get there. The 10th most common thing that I hear about that undermines connection, that is a toxic thing, and people repeat it over and over and over again, even though they know it's not working. They don't necessarily always have or didn't know about ways to get out of it and break the cycle. And Saturn's breaking cycles, Ceres is breaking cycles, Pluto is breaking cycles. Virgo can establish new cycles, but it's a full moon. So we've got culmination and completion and cycles. This is a wonderful time, if number 10 is a problem for you, to get some support. The 10th most common thing I see creating toxicity and connection is self-medication to deal with the other 9 things that we're going to talk about. So self-medicating through addictive behavior or through addiction with food, substances. We're talking about gaming, binge watching and streaming, psychic readings, addictions of relationships, like just constantly needing to have that stimulation, someone paying attention to you, sex and porn. Did I mention food and work? All of the addictions, any of them, sugar is a big one for a lot of people. If addiction and self-medicating through addictive behavior to deal with any of the other 9 things has been a problem with you, you just drop a 10 in the comments. Know that you're in good company. Like I said, in my own world, there has everything except number 8 has been a problem at one point or another and has undermined the evolution of connection. Okay. I'm going to get into some resources. I want to show y'all some resources that I have found for this. The first one that I have found for people who are kind of non-denominational, they don't really love, kind of the God focusedness of 12-step programs, which are out there, is a program I've heard of called Recovery Dharma. Recoverydharma.org is an option if this is something that you need some support with. You can check out, it looks like they have like local meetings, they've got a beginner's guide, they have online meetings for recovery, and it doesn't matter kind of like what your addictive behavior or substance is. It's peer led and it's non theistic if that's what you need. Oh, wait, hang on. I didn't share the screen all the way. Let's try this again, Kay. Details, details, details. Okay. You should be able to see it. Okay, so yeah, recoverydharma.org is a wonderful resource for folks. Okay. So that's one. The next one that I'll share with you that I always like to refer if people are struggling with addiction is something called smartrecovery.org. You'll see here that they do meetings and then they also have a home site. And again, you can do, I refer the people to Smart Recovery all the time who show up inside of readings with me and they're like, yo, my counterpart is struggling with alcohol, or I'm struggling with, kind of binge eating. And I know that that's a problem for us in connection. I link them up to Smart Recovery immediately. It's behavior based. If so, if you want to do something that's more psychotherapeutic and behavior based, but then there's also 12 steps. If 12 steps, you want to do that. A lot of people have done 12 step, and there's a 12 step for freaking everything I have discovered. 12 steps for substances, 12 steps for behaviors. I even discovered there's like a 12 steps for emotions. 12-step programs have been widely adopted because for some people they really work. This is a theistically based program. So if you're looking for something that connects you to a higher power and you want a spiritual connection as part of it, this will really help you. Google 12 steps in your addiction. Like maybe your addiction is journaling. Google 12 steps for journaling and you will find a resource for yourself there. Okay. So that is number 10. There are resources and support out there. If you are someone who can help people with resources and support, please drop your links below. Okay, let's talk about number 9. The 9th most common thing I see sabotaging connection that is habitual, it is routinized, it is the kind of thing that people can get kind of pedantic about in their worlds, meaning they get like almost a little OCD and obsessive about this. And that's Virgo in the shadow, is letting a fear of getting hurt or a fear of hurting other people run your relationship life, basically a fear of pain. The number of people I read for who are in ill-matched, horribly incompatible, pain-filled, and loveless 20-year marriages by their own admission, that they have told me last 19 years too long, is overwhelming. I'm shocked at the number of people I read for who stay only because of this. And I also see an extraordinary number of heaven sent, perfectly matched, amazing love bonds disintegrate after one person has waited decades, and both people walk away with brokenheartedness or soul wounds because someone doesn't believe they have what it takes to survive if it ends. So, fear of hurting someone, fear of getting hurt. In both cases, when we fear hurting or getting hurt, we have greater agreement with weakness than our strength, both our own weakness or other people's weakness. We believe someone wouldn't handle it or we couldn't handle it. This past week, my coach asked me if you could have the perfect life with the love of your life, but it would only last for a finite period of time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. You knew it would end, but it would be extraordinary while it lasted. Would you still want it? It was a powerful question. Our answer to that kind of question reveals the degree to which we are letting fear run our lives and lack of faith in ourselves make our decisions for us instead of love. Anything we choose to fear, we've given our power over to. We've decided that thing can control us and force our lives in certain directions. We have essentially become enslaved to it. And if you look at the ancient astrology, Virgo was the sign that governed enslavement. This full moon in Virgo is one where we can actually break free. Okay. The thing we fear has the opportunity to be cut free from controlling us at this full moon. Okay. But when we fear hurting others or we fear getting hurt, the direction fear always leads us in. The outcome for that is 100% of the time loneliness. Loneliness in a marriage or loneliness without one. We're still choosing fear wins, not love. And here's the truth, because we're human, we're gonna get hurt. This is a fact of life. It is unavoidable. And because we are divine, we are going to love. This too is a fact of life. We're not machines. But because we're divine and because we're human, we can adapt to anything. We can heal from everything. It's in our design, it is part of our DNA. But whether it's fear or love that drives our choices, our humanity or our divinity, that's our decision. And you're the only person that can make this decision for yourself. Whether fear of hurting is going to run your life or choosing love is going to run your life. Now, if you thought this was heavy, wait till we get to number 4. The solution for this one is in decision making. It's in making choices and getting the support we need to choose what's going to be best for love and for you and love in your life. I promise you, suffering isn't the answer, whether it's suffering alone or suffering in marriage. This is not the path you incarnated for. I promise you, this isn't it. Okay, so a good therapist can help with that. And if you've got fear of hurting or fear of hurting, getting other people hurt, one of the resources I really love around that specifically is Lee and Sherry from relationshipreinvented.com. They have a fabulous YouTube channel and a wonderful website where you can get resources and support. They're brilliant coaches. Brilliant coaches. They've created an entire coaching format And they believe, yeah, that connection is a way of life. And so they have an entire protocol and they train coaches, and this is them. They are in union and they have been for a long time. They've transcended a lot of their own toxic cycles. I definitely recommend working with Lee and Sherry. They do a free 30-minute gift session. So if fear of getting hurt or fear of hurting someone else has been running your show, they're the resource I'm most familiar with. I definitely recommend working with them. Okay, so let's get into number 8. Number 8 is a lack of foundation in your own life and wanting someone else to partner with you or parent you so your foundation can be stable. If only they'd move in with me, if only they'd cook for me, if only they'd pay more alimony, if only they'd pay for my childcare or my health insurance. If only they would sell that house so that I could get some more money, some more stability, be more secure from them. Here's the hard truth about this. Our stability is our responsibility. Coming into union, stable and whole, removes the potential for what we just talked about happening, staying together for financial reasons or reasons that have nothing to do with love. We are so capable of creating new solutions for our financial stability and our physical security and sovereignty now more than ever with the internet and advances in technology and the number of tools that are free and right at our fingertips. There's a ton of free tools that business coaches give away on a regular basis. There, if you have a business or you're coaching or working as a solopreneur, there are a number of resources that are available for free on their websites. Libraries have free internet service in many places across the world, and computers if you need them. Canva.com is a website that will let you create digital design for social media for free. Google will let you have an email address and a calendar and a cloud storage for free. There is a free level of Zoom you can use for meetings. And if you're really hard up and you're a reader out here, you can go to a recycling center, grab some cardboard, and make your own tarot cards out of recycled grocery bags or boxes and learn the meanings for the tarot cards for free on YouTube. The only thing between us and our stability, I gotta be honest on this, guys, it's always us. The only time I've seen that not be true is when a person is dealing with some level of like serious lack of access, like in developing countries where there is no internet and people have to walk for kilometers and miles just to get water, or your country has banned you from going to school or shut down your libraries. Those are the times where I'm like, okay, yeah, you have an access to resources problem, not a motivation and will to use resources problem. Our stability, our responsibility, period. I stand on that and will continue to stand on that. I know this is uncomfortable. The earth realm's rules are uncomfortable. Being on earth is uncomfortable for some of us who are very spiritual and being spiritually evolved beings, but we will do the best we can because where else are we going to go? Welcome to Virgo's superpower. Just like Virgo, we too can learn to be in successful, resourceful, diligent relationship to Earth's resources and reap the benefits for our foundations and our stabilities. Now, if you need some support figuring out if you're built for entrepreneurship or starting your own business, or if you're built to take an existing business to the next level as a valuable team member, and you want to look at this in your own chart, it does have the blueprint for you. What you want to do is you want to head over to kmoonastro.com. I am your resource for that. You can book a reading with me. And in that reading, we can have a look what's either the best timing for launching a business, or if you're built for helping somebody take an existing venture to the next level, you can book the 30-minute or you can book the 60-minute. But you can do that with me. But if you already know you are a business owner or an entrepreneur and you're in it and you are struggling, here are some resources I really like for you. All of them have something for free that you can work with. I love Kendall Summerhawk. You can check her out over at kendallsummerhawk.com. She's a wonderful coach that can help you figure out money and business. She'll even teach you how to become a money coach if you want to make money working with money and teaching other people how to work with money. It's a great way to get out of poverty. I love Kendall Summerhawk. I also really love Fabienne Fredrickson. She's a wonderful business coach. She's an OG. She runs a business called Bold Heart. And she's really focused on helping people who have major messages, get them out there in the world. And if you are the kind of person who's already created a big business, she can help you take it to the next level. She's amazing. I also love Monica Shaw. She's the creator of something called revenuebreakthrough.com. Fabulous business coach. She has mastered the earth dimension. And her specialty is keeping women out of poverty. This is her commitment. She wants to see more women making money, understanding the rules of money and how to have a business with money. Fabulous training for business owners with Monica. Some of you may not resonate with any of those. Jesse and Charla of Thrive Academy, another amazing and extraordinary resource. This husband-wife couple is just, this is all they do. They help people go from concept to clients and keep a full practice. All of these people do that. Jesse and Charla really focus on working with you in groups and in teams. They're fabulous resources. You can see they do lots of live events there. Definitely check out Thrive Academy with Jesse and Charlotte. They're so cute. If you need that. And then lastly, but not leastly, I love Sage Levine as well. Now you'll see many of they're Americans. Capitalism has put us on a very specific path, y'all. But she owns Women Rocking Business. I love Sage Levine's work. She's the real deal when it comes to helping people. I've seen her do it repeatedly, helping people create businesses that are going to get them to financial sustainability. Now, I get it. You may be like, but K-Moon, I don't like marketing. But K-Moon, this is hard. K-Moon, I tried it, but it didn't work for me. Listen, I'm not saying that what they're going to tell you is going to be easy. I'm saying they're going to tell you what's going to be necessary for you to have foundation. And that's what we're talking about here. Making sure that you have the financial stability and foundation so that you don't have to be dependent on another person. That's part of when we talk about on this channel, part of our job here as light workers, and specifically in the Twin Flame Collective, is leading and blazing the trail for love and marriage and connection to be based on something else other than duty and obligation, something else other than being dependent on other people, rewriting the script and the rules for love and marriage. Part of being able to do that is dealing with the third dimensional foundation financially, stability wise, and security wise. We have to be willing and able to step into that for ourselves. So there are some resources. They're some of my favorite. You may be a business coach. Drop them links. People need you now. Let's talk about number 7. The seventh most common thing I see show up in toxicity. And once again, toxicity, we're talking about Ceres and Pholus speaking to both counterparts and calling us out under the light of this Virgo full moon. Seventh most common thing I see trip us up and keep us in toxic patterns is just unresolved baggage from past relationships. Now, I've talked a lot on this channel in different lunar updates about not letting the present pay for your past. This is one lunation where if that's happening, you're going to see it plain as day. The solution: you want to dig in with a therapist or a love coach about what you need to let go of in order to be present with love available in the now time. Oftentimes, if we're carrying around baggage that's looping mentally, chances are we're carrying it around emotionally, running it through with our neurochemicals, all of our cells, all of our DNA. We're just repeating some stuff that needs to be let go of both cellularly and emotionally and mentally. What's stuck in the body can be helped with some somatic therapy, EFT, emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, breath work. I've even, for myself, had great success with acupuncture, helping me release stuck grief and stuck anger. Now, for this, Google is going to be your best friend. For somatic work, it is best done in person, breath work too. EFT can be done online, tapping. There are a lot of great resources on that. But acupuncture, somatic therapy, breath work, this is all stuff that's best done in person. And so, what you want to do is you want to go straight to Google and you want to Google somatic therapy. I'll show you how to spell it for those of you who are like, hey, Moon, I'm like already so triggered. I'm not even listening anymore. Bring me back by spelling it. I will share a screen and show you how to spell it. You want to go to Google and you want to type in somatic therapy. Let's say you live in Vancouver. There you go. Find somatic therapists and psychologists in Vancouver. You'll find something local, and luckily, there are people available with 5 stars. Make some time to go work with them. Let them know I'm stuck in a bad relationship and it's causing problems in my new relationship or stopping me from getting into a new relationship. You can also do a Google for, let's see, the other one I mentioned was breath work. And let's just say this time you happen to be in Nice, France. If you're listening from France, you can go over here to and find out who is in Nice, who is available for breathwork training. We've got somebody here who is the spiritual coach and founder of Breathe in Paris, Susan Ubari. Google's going to be y'all's best friend. I'm telling you, don't stay stuck in this energy. You're bigger than that. If you know you're stuck with number 8, unresolved stuff from bad relationships, and you've tried therapy, it's time to try getting it out of the body. Okay. Do some somatic work, some breath work, some EFT. You can even do acupuncture if you're stuck emotionally. All of those can really help you. Let's talk about number 6. The 6th most common thing I see really mess up some foundation, especially between counterparts. And this is the last one before we get into the top 5, and repeatedly mess up stuff between counterparts, right? I'm talking people who come to me and they're like, "Okay, Moon, it's been 10 years. We loop in this cycle. I don't know how to get out of it." The 6th most common thing I see sabotage foundation, meaning they can't build anything else until they get this right, is a lack of boundaries, both trying to control other people and crossing their boundaries, not knowing where you need to stop, and letting other people control you, not letting other people know, hey, this isn't okay with me. I don't feel good about this. We need to talk about a new way to move forward and get needs met. whether you are in the I'm only okay if they're okay, so I'll change myself to make them okay camp, or I'm only okay if they're different and I need them to fix this so that I can feel okay. Whether you're in one camp or the other camp, both of these are forms of codependency that will cause relationships to never get past building a foundation. The solution: classes, workshops, coaches, workbooks, and therapists who specialize in boundary work are going to be amazing for you. Again, Google is your best friend, but doing nothing if you know this is a problem will not help. Now, there's a boundaries, well, not just one, there are several actually. There's a boundaries workbook that I found very, very helpful. That they are available on Amazon. If you're like, but Kaymoon, I can't afford a therapist, girl, get you a workbook. Get you one of these workbooks. There are a lot of them. A lot of coaches and therapists have worked on this and created all sorts of tools and resources. Look here, somebody's even created a boundaries deck. Tool for expressing limits for healthy, happier relationships. You don't need a therapist if you can't afford one. Go with an Audible book. Go with an Amazon book. Get you a resource, but don't stay stuck. Okay. Um, Boundaries workbook. I also really love the personal development school. Now, this woman, Thais Gibson, does not know me. I've never met her personally. But you see how these links are purple? I am referring people to this school at least 2 or 3 times a week, specifically to work on this boundaries thing when it comes to people's attachment styles. If you want to check her out, if you're guided to check her out, one of the things I love about her is that she is so solution oriented. She will not let you sit and spin on your childhood forever and ever. Inside of the world of her courses, you can find one of her most popular courses. Looky here: setting boundaries to end compulsive people pleasing and creating authentic connections. Let's just see what's inside of this course. Let's see, chapter 2, different boundary types and types of boundary violations. We love it. Chapter 3, core beliefs that prevent you from setting boundaries. Gonna be good. Chapter 5, exposure response reprogramming for setting boundaries naturally. Who wouldn't love being able to say what they need to say to come naturally? And she's got a workbook exercise for it. I love this. One of the things I love about Thais Gibson and the Personal Development School is that her classes and courses are focused on doing work, not just talking about the work. So definitely, if that resonates for you, circulate yourself over to the Personal Development School. One of my favorite resources for people who are stuck. If boundaries are an issue for you, this is going to be one of the right solutions. You don't resonate with her? No problem. Workbooks, there are other coaches and therapists available who specialize in this. Okay, whether you are a perpetual boundary crosser or you are a perpetual non-boundary haver, you're going to find that some work around this will be illuminated for you at this full moon in Virgo as a foundation required for union. Okay. Okay. We're going to come back to that at number 3, because number 3, in the top 3, there's some big ones. We're into the top 5. The 5th most common thing that I see mess people's foundations up all the time, and the solution for it, is a lack of communication skills and an absolute refusal to learn any. This is the top 5 most common things I see among people. When there is a lack of communication skills, conversations can go sideways so quickly. And that's when communication and conversations happen at all. A lot of times I see people shut down instead of having conversation, or explode instead of having constructive conversation. The amount of also presumption and assumption I uncover in conversations with people about what another person is doing, thinking, and why they're doing and thinking it is insane. People, I love that we think we're intuitive. We are. But if you want intimacy and connection, you cannot be a mind reader. You have to learn how to be a communicator. We don't even realize that we've made assumptions about other people's behaviors and thoughts half the time. Usually, those assumptions don't even help us either. Frequently, the assumption I'm like gently trying to tease people back from is, oh, she is in love with me. Like the assumption is it's never this. You know what? He's totally in love with me and he's just preparing himself for our eventual union. I'm going to let him take the time he needs to take so he can focus. That's never the assumption. The assumption is always this. Well, because of my childhood wounding, he locked into my trigger and he left me because I think I'm not good enough. And he shut down because I triggered him, and he's so triggered, and that's why he won't talk to me. I trigger him all the time. You know what? You put a lot on yourself if you think you're always triggering somebody. Sometimes it ain't about their triggers. Sometimes people are busy with work and don't know how to communicate it. Sometimes they're overwhelmed by family and don't know how to ask for help. Other times, the other assumption I hear a lot of is they're not talking to me. I know they're talking to their ex. They have to be talking to them again. They're trying to get back together with them. I just know it. What can I do to bring this back together? And I have to be like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Why are you telling me this story? Did they tell you they were talking to their ex? No, K-Moon. I just feel it. Hun, what you're feeling may be your fears. Why don't we actually call the person up, find out what's what? Why don't we communicate instead of having a collision between our fear and our intuition? That's Virgo discernment. Why don't we use some Virgo discernment and actually start the process of building some intimacy in the foundation through communication? Pretty please. This way, we'll have an upward spiral instead of a downward one. So, for communication, if communication is a stuck point, now, if you know courses, workshops, books on this in connection that you find really useful and constructive, please drop the links below. But if communication is a sore point, I really love the Gottman Institute for this. And I love that they just put it out here. Look, we are research based. We are a research based approach to relationships. The Gottmans created something called a love lab in the love lab. They threw couples in there for a weekend with a bunch of cameras and observed what do they do behaviorally and communication wise all weekend. Longitudinal study 5 years later, they looked at the difference between who was divorced and who was still together. Couples who were divorced all did the same 7 things that weekend. Couples who stayed married, or the same 4 things. Couples who stayed married all did the same 7 things that weekend. They got it down to such a science within one session with you, 5 minutes of talking to you, they'll know if you're going to stay together or if you will be divorced in 5 years. And they took and extrapolated the research into books, workshops, a newsletter called Gottman Love Notes that's absolutely free, a training for therapists, and you can find a couples therapist to help you with the communication, a card deck that is now an app so that you can get your communication together. They have got this down to such a science to help people with communication and relationship. And I really recommend, if this is your stuck point, if assumption and presumption has been ruining connection and intimacy for you, check out the Gottman Institute. I promise you their resources, once used, you can't just read about them, you got to use them, can turn things around extremely quickly for you. love the Gottmans, but if you've got a workshop or a book or a coach that specializes specifically in communication skills for couples, drop those links below. That would be amazing. The fourth most problematic thing that I see consistently undermine connection for couples who want to have some format of union is a lack of regulation in the nervous system and an absolute refusal to deal with it. This one goes with the lack of communication below. The lack of communication thing goes with this number 4, lack of nervous system regulation above. Half the time, the reason our nervous system is dysregulated is because we're scaring ourselves with all of our assumptions about what other people are doing. Half the time our nervous system is dysregulated, it's because we aren't communicating that we need something and we don't know how to ask for it effectively without blame or shame or guilting another person or being weird and awkward and just saying, hey, I need this. Can you help? Right? Lack of nervous system regulation and a refusal to know how to deal with it. There is plenty of people who know how to deal with it and do something, and that's actually servicing you. When you refuse, when you recognize it, you're just like, I'm just going to stay spun out and block them. That's a problem. Our self-protective patterns are often designed to bring our nervous system back to some level of familiarity so we can feel safe. But if our safety zone and comfort zone is built on dysfunction, guess what we unconsciously recreate? More dysfunction. I see this a lot with people who either shut down or cling when they're confused by other people's actions. Now, again, communication would help that a lot. But at the heart of insecure attachment styles, whether it's fearful avoidant, dismissive avoidant, anxiously attached, there is some combination of 4 and 5. Lack of nervous system dysregulation and lack of communication skill. These two all by themselves. Like if you don't have none of the other ones, these two all by themselves will every time cause a relationship to fail before the 2-year mark. I've seen it repeatedly. And when I've seen people get past the 2-year mark in connection, even the 1-year mark, it's because some level of 4 and 5 are in play, some level of self-regulation around being stimulated and some level of communication skill around either asking about needs or asking about another person or sharing the same, sharing stories, sharing what's going on, sharing what revealing and vulnerability. 4 and 5 go hand in hand. The personal development school is my favorite resource for both of them. So if this is something that you know you struggle with, I recommend you check it out. That's my solution for this. I also love anything somatic. Mindfulness is great, like being able to sit and watch your thoughts. That's nice. But nervous system regulation tends to need a physical component as well that allows the body to be part of the self-attunement and communication progress. Again, yoga and exercise, that's nice, but the focus really needs to be on making the connection between the signals the body is sending regarding its needs rather than simply just lowering cortisol or anxiety. So if you can do something somatic, again, I love the reprogramming techniques that Thais Gibson gives inside the personal development school. They can also really help with reprogramming the brain because she makes that mind-body connection, okay? We're in the top 3, y'all. Number 3, foundationally, the thing that I have seen 30% of the time, really upsetting people's ability to get in and stay in. Constructive, healthy relationship is unresolved childhood stuff and 0 tools to make new choices. Now, you already know why this is a problem, so let's just talk about the solution. I love family systems therapy, trauma therapy, EMDR in particular, if you've got like abuse trauma going on. I also really love personal development school, which I've mentioned for this. Google will be your best friend. You want to look for family systems therapy. The reason I put this as number 3 is because unresolved childhood stuff is just so common. The number of times someone will share a pattern with me that they keep repeating in a relationship, picking the same person in a different body or doing the same thing, getting the same result, hoping for something different. And I can see in their chart that the issue is related to childhood wounding regarding mom, the moon in a chart, or the childhood wound regarding dad, Saturn in a chart, is at minimum twice a day on my reading days, at the very least. And I'm going to be transparent with you. I never see more than 6 people on a reading day. So for this to happen at minimum twice a day, that's a lot. Thankfully, the age at which people are becoming aware that, okay, yeah, this is from my childhood, and then ready to do something about it seems to be getting younger and younger. But it's always a bit of a heartbreak for me when people know the issue and have known it for decades, but then continue to let it run their show well into their 40s and their 50s, and they've done nothing effective about it. Again, y'all know I love Thais Gibson at the Personal Development School. If one of y'all want to introduce me to her, I will invite her to do an interview because I recommend her work so highly. Like I said, she doesn't know me. I don't get a referral fee for any of these resources that I'm sharing with you. I'm just sharing them with you because I want you to evolve. Okay. The reprogramming stuff that she gets into specifically around childhood wounding and behavioral tools she provides specifically for being triggered, and not just explaining the wound and letting you talk about it for years on end, which we can do given current models of therapy and get nowhere on new results with relationship. She has found a new way for people. And I really like that for all of us here. Another thing that can really help that I love is neuro-linguistic programming. I've done some NLP myself. I found it very helpful with some of my more stuck patterns when it comes to childhood trauma. And Google will be your best friend. I presently don't know any NLP practitioners. The ones I've worked with have transitioned into other stuff. But you can Google for some neuro-linguistic programming. There you go. You can see what it is, and you can find a NLP therapist. In today, we're going to talk about Curacao, Brazil, if you're watching from Brazil. Let's see. Now, likely it's probably in Portuguese, but let's see what's going on. Okay. Saida Hina Hussein is an NLP practitioner and a master life coach. Imam Connect. She may be in Curacao, Brazil. You want to Google for someone who does NLP in your local area. You can also find NLP therapists online. Let's see. You can also find NLP therapists who specialize. NLP therapists, online, childhood trauma. There you go. Here's a resource. We got people from BetterHelp, Dr. Rebecca Hoffenberg. We've got my NLP for trauma, my LA therapy, all sorts of resources. You get the idea. Roll up your sleeves, put them little thumbs to work, get them off of Candy Crush or whatever you do to distract, and look for some resources and support and try them out. Okay. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. I promise you, if you do this now, Your breakthrough will be this year, and your life will not be the same given these transits. Okay, number 2 and number 1. Now, this is the second most common thing, and this is really the most powerful because I see this. It's all over social media, and we take it for granted. It's very common in self-help, inspirational, even therapeutic circles at this time, and I don't actually think it's helping. And this is giving into the world patterning of separation and walking away as a superpower. There's so much deitization and glamorization at this time of being able to walk away and cut people off and to never look back. And we really glamorize the people who are able to do it with their families. This is a huge problem, you guys, because not the amount of social media posts and rhetoric on cutting off and walking away and blocking is nowhere near the same amount when it comes to here's how to have a constructive conversation, set healthy boundaries, ask for what you need, reverse the dynamics in a relationship so that it's healthy for both people, repace a relationship so that both people feel safe in the pace at which it's unfolding, reset expectations. We don't see that. What we see is I wasn't getting what I needed. They weren't paying attention to me the way I wanted. They had continuous bad days and talked to me in a way I didn't like. So I cut them off. I blocked them. I shut down. I walked away. Go me. I think this is going to become, let me put that a different way. This is already the undoing of our capacity to have sustainably healthy relationships. The kind of swipe culture where we can just disposably discard of someone because we think we can do better in a swipe, this is problematic. If you know you want love, continuously walking away when it's not perfect will not get you to find it. It will continuously build the pattern of being alone and being triggerable at any stimulation. Nothing and no one is going to give you exactly what you want and treat you how you want to be treated every single day. Not even you treat you how you want to be treated every single day. There's going to be days, there's going to be weeks, sometimes there's going to be months. And if you ask anyone married over 10 years, they'll tell you there are entire years where you're not going to get what you want. But you will grow through it, and you're also going to grow together if you can learn the tools for that, right? So let's talk about some solutions. Tools to stick and stay and see your ability to grow together as a strength, not your ability to walk away as a strength. Now, granted, listen, I'm not telling y'all know for the person who is busy in the comments right now, but K-Moon, they were abusive and narcissistic. Stop. You know that's not what I'm talking about. You know that's not what I'm referring to. What we're talking about is learning how, when the going gets tough, to roll up your sleeve and have difficult conversations and be patient with people's process and learn how to contribute to someone's turnaround and invite them to be a part of yours instead of shutting down. Okay. Now, again, the tools I like for this are the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work by the Gottmans. I've already talked about that. They're a phenomenal resource here. I also did an interview with a special guest who did who is a Gottman coach and did an interview called The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work with us. She's a Gottman coach. Let me see if I can find that on my channel real quick and just show you. If you just like to listen to content, She's a wonderful resource. She's also a Gottman coach. Let's see if I can link it below because I can't find it right now. Great resource. She'll speed walk you through those 7 principles and you can start to deploy and practice them. She also had a PDF that she linked for us. Go get your hands on it. Free tool. And she's in the Tools for Union playlist if I forget to link her. Great way of learning stick and stay. Getting some coaches who know what stick and stay looks like from a resource perspective. Also, talk to your aunties and uncles. If your parents don't have stick and stay, talk to your aunties and uncles. If your parents do have stick and stay, talk to them. Their marriage isn't perfect. If you grew up in it, you already know that. Why are they still together? What's the secret to that? Ask. I guarantee you something in there will come to you as gold and a tool you can deploy in the now time in your connection. And this is the counterbalance, number 2, to what I talked about as number 9, I believe it was, which was fear of getting hurt and fear of hurting people being the reason why you stay. Sometimes you can work through stuff. Sometimes you can't. Having discernment not to give up or flinch at the first sign of things being challenging and having tools to get through challenge will really help. Okay, now last one, the number 1. The number 1 most toxic trait I see day in and day out in my practice that I'm constantly correcting people around when it comes to connection, constantly talking people off the ledge around, constantly redirecting thought around. The thing that is destroying connections at a faster rate than any of the other 9 things I have already mentioned is negative thinking, negative belief systems, negative speaking about oneself or about their loved ones. This is the number 1 toxic trait I encounter in my sessions. And it's not just in sessions. I hear people on the phone in public complaining about everything and everyone and having a complete inability to believe that good things are true about themselves, are true about the people they love, or can happen in their lives. If I speak to 6 people in a day, about 3 of them, if not more, minimum 3, I have to correct thinking and point out that the stars are not their block, their thinking and their speaking is. The reason this is a problem is because we are always creating through thought, always, and speaking, spoken word, whether we are intentionally meaning to create or not. It's still happening, whether you meant it to be created or you didn't. It's happening anyway. Here's the solution. The opposite of this negativity is really believing in your possibilities, that if you're still breathing, there are still chances, that knowing the best is always ahead of you, and knowing that if you're a learning being and you've learned from what you've been through, other people are too, and you can create again. There are gratitude journals upon gratitude journals on Amazon. I'm not even going to bother to look them up. But behaviorally, being in a place where you are conditioning yourself to look for the good instead of the problem is going to help you. And this is, I'm telling you, one of the most destructive things I'm seeing as a toxic, literally destroying the fabric and foundations of connections that are great otherwise. Toxic trait that I'm seeing in connection and foundations and connection at this time. So if you know you could use some help, either understanding the light side of your planetary placements or your possibilities in your patterns, right? If you're like, I'm doomed. Chiron is talking to my moon. Pluto is talking to my Venus. Aries is my 7th house. Or I have so much masculine energy and I can't seem to get in my feminine. Something's wrong with me. Or you're in the place where you repeated multiple patterns. My God, it's like been years and you can't stop attracting the same person in a different body. You're ready to break out and you can't see how to talk yourself out of it. Let's look at your chart. Let's see what the light side of the placements are. Let's get you into your manifestation technique with your fifth house. And let's talk through what you can do so you can get in an upward spiral. You can book with me over at kmoonastro.com. There's the website. Link is below this video. Click personal readings and we'll be off to the races. So, not the typical lunar update, you guys. I won't be doing this again, thankfully. I don't think I need to. I've given you enough resources here to work this. And because this was so foundation focused, all of the astrology pieces, given the way Juno and Jupiter are speaking to this full moon, they're all over in the LightWorker energy update. So you want to have a re-listen for that. Go there just so you can get conceptually grounded in what we're talking about. And then you'll be able to come back to this video and pick up the tools like, okay, I see it now. I get it. I know I need to work here. If you want to talk about or comment, what you're seeing, you're ready to transcend in terms of toxicity, you're ready to trade in that toxicity for transcendence, and you recognized yourself in 1 through 10, feel free to drop, your story about it in the comments. But you guys got this. I really want to tell you, like, I've seen so much change for people in the last year who have really taken on whatever their form of, quote, the work is in the third dimension. When people have really started to come out of meditation and out of energy work, you can still do that. But when the people add this other component onto it, it unlocks their super manifestation powers, their divinity templates for creatorship, and gives them command over their third dimension in the world of love in ways that I'm watching people begin to soar, really call in new possibilities and potential. And so this is why I dedicated this full moon in Virgo based on service and pattern breaking and transcendence from toxicity. I'm dedicating this full moon to this for you because I want you to, it doesn't have to be me. Find your solution and actually engage it. I just don't want you to stay stuck, especially when that's just not the way this world works. Nothing is stuck. Everything changes. All right. I love you guys. Thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing, listening, sharing. Yeah. And I'll see you at the next lunation. Take great care. Bye for now.